Hey, welcome everybody. It's my weekly session with Guy Vogren. And we have a guest with us today, Guy, from the American Heart Association, Amber Higby. Amber, how's it
Yeah,
going? And Guy,
rose
how you
between
doing?
two thorns here. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Guy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Glad to
Yeah,
have you, Amber.
definitely. And thanks for coming on. I know it's a busy time of the season, but you guys got some interesting news coming up. You've got CPR training and resources available at Ohio Public High Schools. It's important. I know that cardiac emergencies happen, and it's great to see you guys are offering more resources. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. So, we know that every year, approximately 350,000 Americans experience a cardiac arrest outside of the hospital. And when they do, that usually happens at home. So that really means that it's up to the victim's loved ones, like spouse or children, to be able to step in and act in an emergency situation. So, the American Heart Association is working hard to build a nation of lifesavers. We focus on cardiac arrest preparedness. And when we put that focus into schools, we're increasing the number of trained and willing bystanders to step in and act in those emergency situations, which means a lot more lives are saved. So, the program that we are working on right now is a collaboration with the Ohio Department of Education. And we are providing up to 500 schools, public high schools across Ohio, with the training and the resources that are necessary for educators to train their students in CPR and AED before they graduate.
Oh, that's great news. How,
Yeah,
how
is
many are going to be in the Mahoning Valley
Um,
getting this training?
so any public high school across
Okay.
Ohio is eligible to participate in this program. That's really the only stipulation is that they have to be a public high school in Ohio. So as many high schools are in the Mahoning Valley
Yeah,
area,
there's quite a bit.
yeah, they
Yes.
can
So
contact
it's
me.
up to them to contact you guys and set it
That
up.
that's going to be the easiest way. I just need a little bit of information from each of the schools. Basically I need to know their mailing address and their total school population so I know how much material to reserve for them. And then I work directly with the educators on setting up a training session. This training session is brief, only typically is going to take 30 to 45 minutes. And it's designed to help educators really learn what's inside the CPR in schools kits and how to implement the included curriculum, how easy it is to implement it in their classrooms. This curriculum is designed to be done in just one class period. So, one class period out of the whole year, and they can train all of their students on
I
CPR and
imagine
AED.
schools can coordinate it with their health teachers and or
Yes.
student or school nurses.
Yes, absolutely. Ideally, the educator on campus that is implementing this lesson should be the one to attend the curriculum. But I tell them anybody on campus that would like to learn about it is welcome to attend my training as well. The training is free. I can do it virtually. I can also do it in person with them if they prefer.
this a new program? Like, have you guys offered this in previous years, or?
So, no, it actually is fairly new. So, since 2017, it has been a state mandate that schools teach CPR and AED in the classrooms. But
Hmm.
up until about this past year, there hasn't really been funding for it. So, we are working with the Department of Education. We are helping them with state allocated funds to be able to provide this training and the equipment to the schools. So it's only been this year. We have appropriated about 500 schools that we can accommodate with this program, and we're hoping to be able to continue that in years to come.
How how is fundraising going? Are you guys like raising additional funds for it? Or is it probably part of your regular budget? Like,
So this particular one is state allocated. So
oh,
our
okay, cool.
advocacy team, yes, our advocacy team, you know, uh, went to legislation, told them, that there's a real need, and they agreed. So the money was awarded to the Department of Education, and the Department of Education came to us. They see us. We're a leader in resuscitation science. And they said, will you help us do this? Will you be that person to go in and educate these trainers and or educate these educators so that they can train their students?
So really, if I'm a school district out there, I can just say, yes, I want this.
Yes.
There's no cost to it or anything else.
Exactly.
I know you're putting out the press release this week to kind of talk about it, but have you seen a lot of support? I mean, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. I mean, why wouldn't you accept that? Have you heard from a lot of schools saying yes already?
Yes, we have actually. You're right. It is a no-brainer. This doesn't cost the schools anything to participate. It's super easy for them. All they need to do is contact me. They can email me, which is amber.higbee@heart.org. And we just get started. I just need a little bit of information from each school to be able to send them their materials and then arrange for however training looks best. Since the beginning of the school year, we have been utilizing lots of different means to connect with schools. We had a Microsoft interest form that we asked the Department of Education to send out. I've also connected with a lot of education centers across Ohio and was able to connect with schools that way. And to date, we've reached almost a little over 300 schools. So we're getting there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So to me, that's great what you guys are doing. I just, to me, it should be like 500 schools would be saying yes by now. Is there a reason why? Like to me, it'd be like, hey, do you want this? Yes. I mean, your press release should be like, everybody accept it. Why are we still waiting on this? It's kind of weird.
Well, it does take a little bit of time. And, we, at the American Heart Association, we really want to connect with each school individually. I want to make sure that these educators feel supported in this program. I want them to take part in the training session and feel confident that they can implement this in the classroom. So it's not a quick thing. We're not going down a list and just sending off materials. We really are trying to be a partner to schools. And that way, when they do have a need in the future, they think of us and they come back and ask us to help fulfill whatever need that they may have.
Is there anyone at the Department of Health or Education that worked with you on this program, or even a legislator that you'd like to give a shout out to? Thanks for making it possible.
Yeah, well, all of our advocacy team worked so hard on that. I stepped into this role kind of after all of that took place. I stepped into this role so that I could be completely 100% dedicated to this initiative. So by name, I don't think I could really name anybody, but I know that our advocacy team has built some really outstanding relationships, both in legislation as well as the Department of Education. And they're continuing to foster those relationships so that this partnership can last for years to come. Yeah.
That's great news that, nonprofits can get into the public school system and really give a hand there. And I'm sure it'll be a successful program that people want to see it continue, because from what it sounds like, the kids don't have to stay after school to learn this. They can just be part of the curriculum.
It is part of the curriculum, yes. And, it's best implemented in a health class, but really it is designed to be implemented anywhere on campus. So if a nurse wants to lead the program, or science teacher, or even PE and athletics, any of those educators can implement this curriculum on the campus. They do not have to be certified in CPR in order to teach bystander CPR.
Great.
Yeah. Amber, forgive me if you're not the best person to ask about this. I was just curious. I've talked openly on the show. I had kind of a heart scare a couple months ago, and I have heart disease, so I got to be careful. You talk about the importance of AEDs. I know your program is dealing specifically with the schools. How important is it? Is it cost effective, like for a family that has people going for that? Should some homes consider AEDs to help out? And what would the cost of that be?
So an AED in an individual setting, in my opinion, probably maybe won't be the best cost effective. When it's in a public setting, if we are as general bystander people, if we understand that the use of an AED is very simple, we can definitely increase the chances of survival when those are in very common places. When you think of grocery stores or libraries or school facilities, right? We need students, we need bystanders to understand that they too can, they don't have to be specially trained. They can pull an AED off the wall and walk through the steps of being able to use that. And it dramatically increases the chance of survival.
Okay, very interesting. What, Amber, anything else you want to share with us? Anything we forgot to ask you about?
Well, I do really appreciate you guys taking the time, getting this information out there. Every way that we can let schools know that this program is available and that it doesn't cost them anything to participate. All they need to do is contact me and I'll get the ball rolling for them to get this equipment. And we'll continue to build a community of lifesavers. I know that I want to be able to walk down the street and feel confident that if something were to happen to me and I went into cardiac arrest, that I'm surrounded by people that are trained and willing to jump in an emergency situation. So, and the teachers that I've been working with have been, that I've already connected with, have just had wonderful things to say. I will share before we leave one quick story. I had a health teacher down in Licking County, actually, Utica High School. I was down there for an in-person training. She was very thankful for all of the material. And after she implemented it in her classroom, she sent me an email. And she told me that in the past 2 years, she has had 3 students have to use the skills that they learned in her class in real life situations, one of which the student saved her grandmother's life.
Oh, that's just heart rendering.
Yeah.
I mean,
it just shows that there's a tremendous need. And when we can educate the educators and we can give them the supplies that they need and the tools that they need to implement this in the classroom, we're creating a next generation of lifesavers.
And what can be a better gift this Christmas season than the gift of life? Yeah.
Exactly.
And I can't believe there's any schools out there saying, nah, this isn't for me. I mean, we all get busy. I know schools have a million things going on, but my message to Ohio schools, come on. Something's free, something's available. Why not take advantage of it? Well, Amber, thank you so much for your time. We will be in touch soon. Love you guys are in the Heart Association, and I have a lot of questions. We'll have to have you guys back on where I can ask you questions about my heart journey. So
and you'll have a busy fundraising month in February, I believe.
February is our big month. Yes, it's Heart Month. So all of the things are happening all across the community and the organization. February is a great month for us. Yes.
So be looking for more press releases with good news.
Yes, absolutely. Chris and Guy, thank you so much. I very much appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Yep.
Thank you so much too, Amber. Have a great day.
Thanks. You too.
Amber Higbee from the American Heart Association. And it's meant a lot to me. My dad went for heart issues. I'm going for heart issues now. So support them. And again, Ohio schools, and again, I'm sure no one's saying we don't want this. There's a lot going on, and sometimes
hopefully, a great percentage of the Mahoning Valley public schools can make this happen.
Yeah, and I get scared sometimes, man, because I'm thinking, man, if I'm the one who knows how to do it, what if I mess up? Well, if no one does it, then you're going to mess up. Someone's going to die. So at least learn, try to learn the right way, and now you got a fighting chance where you may not have in the past. So. All right. Well, Guy, we have another guest that may or may not be on. So let's kind of move forward with what we're talking about. If the guest comes, they'll come. If not, we got plenty to talk about. So remind me, you had a couple of good things we should talk about. So let me know what's up.
Well, let's see. It's been a busy week for me. My boss is really Dennis Watkins, the prosecutor. He this week went to the Ohio Association of prosecuting attorneys. They had their annual meeting in Columbus, and he was lobbying hard for Ohio to keep their death penalty intact. I know there's been a legislation that is going to be going dying out because of the General Assembly is ending, and a new state legislature is going to be taking office in 2025 that wants to repeal the death penalty, and he's been lobbying hard against that. And he was speaking to the 87 other Ohio prosecutors about that issue this week. So we've been working hard getting information to him so he can give it out to the other prosecutors. So that's what my week was about, basically, other than still fighting off some chest cold problems and congestion, but hopefully I can overcome that with some more rest, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was man, just busy Christmas seasons. Too much is going on.
Yeah, and I think that's why this cold's hanging on. The stress of trying to get everything done. Christmas now is a scant less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I can say I won't mention too much about it, but I was in DC last week for a really great event. Man, DC, it's a good place to go. And I'll be honest with you, with some of our divisiveness politically, politics aren't as much fun as it used to be.
No, it definitely isn't.
Yeah, but you get the chance to go to DC. I mean, if you're at all into history, I mean, go. I went there about 10 years ago. I got to drive around for an hour. Got to spend a little bit more time there. Never been in person to Lincoln Memorial. And, man, you go there. It's an impressive facility.
Yeah, it's awe-inspiring, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Drove by the Capitol building. We just got a chance to jump out and take a picture. I wanted to get a couple good pictures of the White House, but we saw a glimpse going by, and you can't really drive in front of it. Like you had to park to the side, and we just didn't have time.
Yeah, so for security reasons, they've kind of barricaded that part of the White House off. Did you run into any celebrities in your travels?
Yeah, we had one off to tell you about later, but no, it was good. It was good. A real fun event, which is good. But yeah, I'll tell you about offline on that. But yeah, I had a good week with that. Also kind of an interesting week, the fallout from Ohio State. They lost and had the conference championship games. Everyone was pretty well certain Ohio State was going to make the playoffs. They did. They got
a home game, and that was one of the things we had talked about before the show, that it'll be interesting. The home game's next Saturday night. It's going to be primetime ABC. The ESPN college football crew will be down there in Kirk Herbstreit and all the people in their usual pregame will be in Columbus, and it'll be an interesting atmosphere. And since the students will be off campus because it will be the Christmas holiday, it'll be interesting to see how many Ohio State fans will show up for the game.
Yeah, apparently
I'm expecting a sellout, but I don't know, who's going to scoop up these tickets.
Well, I mean, with Ohio State, somebody's going to buy them. I mean, you may not see quite as many kids there, but
and Tennessee isn't that far away.
Well, they were saying the tickets were scooped up, but they said be ready to, see a lot more secondary market. Yeah, and that's the thing anymore. A lot of times, some of these tickets are already by scalpers who, and online
ticket brokers. Yeah.
So I mean, it'll be interesting. I think.
It'll be also interesting. This is the first ever football game at Ohio Stadium in December, what the weather was going to be like.
Yeah, I mean, I can make a good argument for, do we really need 12 teams and all this other stuff?
Right.
It's money. I mean, people are paying big money to broadcast, and so you're going to see it. I think there's a lot of sidelights that are interesting. I don't know if Ryan Day has to win or not, but they need to look good, or Ryan Day could be in trouble after losing again to Michigan.
Yeah, they have to look to run that offense a little bit better than they did against Michigan.
Yeah, I think also too it's going to be interesting. Like you said, under the Gene Smith era, and I'm not sure if it's just Gene Smith, but Gene talked about a lot, saying, "Hey, Ohio State is not equipped to host a December game in the cold." And you never know. I mean, it might be a warm night. Ohio weather's kind of funky. In
December. December, you never know which way the wind will blow. I mean, a southerly wind could make it be like 50 degrees and no wind.
But I think you'll finally see what it's going to be like. I think Smith's argument was the pipes were never set up for whatever to do well. But I'm intrigued. Let her play, and again.
Yeah, we're just shoveling into new ground here, new territory for college football. Also, the other first round matchups are very intriguing. Yet Indiana versus Notre Dame, a kind of
it'll be fun.
A basketball state getting top level billing in football, and then Clemson versus Texas, two longtime powers. Clemson always a name in the playoffs in the last decade, and Dabo Swinney, you got to give them a more than a fighter's chance of beating Texas. And then the an interesting matchup, SMU playing Penn State up in Happy Valley.
Yeah, and I guess you had to give buys to your conference champions to make the conference championship week mean something. So
right. That was the thinking behind the organizers of this playoff, even though the top teams weren't getting the buys.
Well, but I think there's going to be some of these teams that are going to be underdogs next week. You know what I mean?
Right. You have Arizona and Boise State. Right, they're going to be seeded third and fourth, but they're going to be definitely big underdogs.
Yeah.
Texas, I mean, if they go through, they're going to be playing Arizona State, and then if Penn State goes through, they'll have Boise. Penn State really has. Franklin has never won the big game, but he'll have a couple big games with a kind of an easy path.
Yeah, and again, I'm still a little weirded out. Yeah, it's great to see Ohio State have a chance in the national title. And I think Ohio State, it's going to be hard to win 4 games.
Right.
But I think in theory, they have a chance like everyone else does. I don't think they're a horrible underdog. I just, in some ways, I'm like, okay, they lost 2 games. Do they really need to be in the playoffs? But again, I'm old school. Hey, let's have 2 or 4 teams in the playoffs instead of 2.
Right. It just, when you don't beat your big rival Michigan, and this is the 4th straight year, you're just, here we go again, the end of the year doldrums.
Well, and could you imagine if Ohio State caught fire and won the title? Yeah, they won the national title. I mean, you don't forget that. But I'm sure there'll be some guys out there going, well, they lost to Michigan. What's going on here?
Yeah, so, and it's going to be the Michigan fans that are going to point that out first and foremost. And that's why, I hear some media pundits just downplaying the loss to Michigan like it's not as big a deal. Well, it is a big deal, at least for me, a longtime Ohio State fan. I can't, underestimate or lowball of a Michigan-Ohio State rivalry.
The only thing I wonder with all these other layers, it's never going to mean nothing. But does that take the sting out a little bit because some of these teams can still make the playoffs or whatever?
And there's now talk that they're going to drop the conference championships next year and just kind of seed them 1 through whatever. I guess it's going to be a 12-team playoff again next year. But they'll drop the seeding for the conference championships. Well, then what is the need for a conference championship? And at that same time, will Michigan and Ohio State be the last game of the season?
Well, I think you always see the conference championship because of the the TV money. But here's what I'm thinking. Okay, if you're a conference champion, great. you make the top 12. Great. But your seed should be dependent on what your final record is or your final ranking.
Right.
So say you pull off a shocker. Let's say you lost 4 games. You made the
Clemson, for
game,
example.
you win.
Clemson lost 3 games, but they're the conference champ.
Right. So, yeah. So if you're the conference champ, okay, great. You did well enough. We'll put you in the playoffs. But if you lost 3 or 4 games, you should be the 12th seed. You should automatically get a top 4. I guess that's where I'm at. And still, that places importance on the conference title games because if you lost 3 games, you're probably like, well, our only chance is to win the conference. Okay, great. If you win the conference, you're in. But you don't. We shouldn't give you a top 4 seed just because you won the conference. You know. But I will say, to the credit of that, at least a lot of these conferences are dropping their divisions because in years past, you saw like Ohio State or Michigan play Iowa. But now you had a Oregon Penn State game, which seemed to be a lot more.
Right, and which were the top 2 teams in the league all through the year. Right. And notwithstanding Ohio State beating Penn State. But like I said, you lose to Michigan, you got to get penalized somehow. And that was the penalty this year. They again lost out on a chance at the conference championship.
We have a potential guest that we're not sure is going to be able to make or not. So let's kind of keep talking. If they pop up, we'll talk to them.
Well, staying in college football, I guess the University of North Carolina kind of shocked the football universe by hiring none other than Bill Belichick.
Yeah. I kind of wonder why to a certain point. Belichick.
I just wonder what the thinking of on Belichick's part. I know University of North Carolina, another basketball school, wanting to make some marks in football, and this is the best way to do it by hiring a legendary coach. But what's the motivation for Belichick, you think?
It seemed that Belichick was really into trying to get the all-time wins record, which kind of makes sense
for the NFL.
But, I kind of wonder. I mean, I thought you'd be a pretty hot name. And I hear you might have 8 coaching openings.
Right, lots of openings that he would have had a chance at. But did his former boss, the owner of the Patriots, kind of blackball him by giving him bad recommendation?
That could be it too. You never know. I mean, and the thought is, I thought the Falcons ended up with a good coach, but you're like, okay, if Bill Belichick goes to the Falcons and say, hey, I'm interested. Why didn't you get that job? It was just kind of strange. I think too, there are reports. I'm not sure if these were verified or not. There was some talk saying, look, if you get me, my son, Steve, will be coach in waiting.
Right.
And
I've heard that.
That means Steve is headed to North Carolina. I'm not sure already. But there's a lot of questions there. And, plus
the fact that college football has changed. I mean, you're not coaching a bunch of raw college kids that are doing it for no money. These people are paid. And what better to have a guy that's used to working with professionals. So this, for North Carolina, this kind of is a shrewd move, I think. I'm still scratching my head for, how many years will Bill take, the coaching? Because it's a different, I mean, the pressure is all around different.
Well, here's the other thing, too. I'm not saying Belichick's too old and he's going to retire for a year, but he's 72. So part of a college. Now, I know for NIL.
And he's replacing a guy, Mac Brown was 73, and I thought, North Carolina wanted to go a little bit younger in their profile as a head coach.
A little bit younger. Well, yeah, I wondered, too, I guess with the NIL, there's really not a 4-year commitment. I mean,
you have new people moving in and out, and Bill is good at manipulating rosters, and, it's not the same recruiting where you go into a parent's home and try to wow the parents to convince their kid to go to college. It's not like that anymore.
Well,
I don't see Bill doing that.
Well, you saw in the news. It's the new thing in college football to be a GM.
Right.
Andrew Luck, the Stanford Colts great, is now going to be the GM of Stanford football.
Yeah, Mike Lombardi, I heard,
Yeah.
is coming along with Bill to be his GM.
I kind of wondered. I talked to Mike Brown a little bit earlier, and I'll bring this up to you too. It's kind of interesting. Now, Stanford and North Carolina need some help. They're trying to work their programs back up.
Right.
Who's the GM of Ohio State?
Right. Well, there you go. I mean, I would think it might be Chip Kelly as far as getting the players there, but is it the athletic director?
Well, here's the thing I'm wondering. Okay, Ohio State's brought a ton of talent. And I'm not going to say they can't bring talent there. But
Right.
Mike Brown brought a good question. They came within a long kick beating Georgia a couple years ago.
Right.
And Georgia beat TCU by 60 in the championship game. So the thought would be, if you kick the field goal, you probably get past TCU. Maybe not by 60,
Correct.
but you win the
Correct.
game. For as horrible as that Michigan game was, and as bad as Ohio State
They were 2 kicks away from winning.
right. Okay, they're kids. And I'm sure the guy that missed the field goals for Ohio State came in highly regarded. It's not like you or me.
I see where you're going. Are we going to get some kind of NFL reject kickers to the college game now?
Or I'm just saying, okay, Ohio State did a good job of attracting players.
Right.
But I don't know who's the GM, if they have anybody. Maybe it's, like you said, Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, some of their good coaches. I know Brian Hartline has a lot of pull in the receiver room. But what I'm saying is, if you don't have a GM, it's like the NFL. You can have a really great team, but if you have a crappy GM and you don't have a good kicker or quarterback or whatever, that's
which and many are saying is the Browns' problem with Kevin Stefanski and his GM Barry, that they're not really on the same page.
So if Mike Lombardi goes to North Carolina, and I'm not even sure what experience Andrew Luck has, but he's a name, I guess.
Right.
Why can't Ohio State? And again, it's Ohio State. Unlimited resources, limited money.
We could.
You should attract a great GM. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and there you would think there's a Ohio State alumni out there that can do that task.
Or, I mean. Yeah, I don't know if Lombardi.
Maybe Urban Meyer would be available for that. I mean, I know he is stressed on being on the sidelines coaching. He can.
Well, after his experience in Jacksonville, I don't know if he was a GM, but he made
right. Well, that's true too. Yeah,
I'm not sure if he was Urban Meyer in this format.
He couldn't do both jobs, and that's why he just failed miserably at both in Jacksonville.
In the old days, when you weren't supposed to, I put quotes for a reason. Pay players. Yeah, Urban Meyer is great, but in a GM world, I don't know, man. So I always wonder that. And I don't listen to every single Ryan Day press conference. Maybe they asked him that. Maybe they've asked him over Ohio State. But I haven't seen anything about, I mean, somebody's making the calls. And I guess what I'm wondering is, okay, Ohio State better bring in kickers next year. And
right.
And again, Jalen Fleming, the kicker that missed a couple field goals, I'm sure he came highly regarded. I'm sure it wasn't like they just picked some third string kicker from Austin Town Fitch or something. I mean, I'm sure he had a lot of creed or anything, but it's like, man, get this really great kicker and just see what happens. So,
yeah, and even the punting game was suffering a little bit in that game. I know the winds were kind of high, but it seems like Michigan had better field position much of that second half, and that wouldn't happen in a Jim Tressel Ohio State team. I know he always wanted to win the special teams battle, and he always had great kickers and punters on his team. Maybe we could have Jim help out and land a few kickers.
Well, you kind of wonder too. That's a little scary if you're a college kid, because. Yeah, I mean, if you do good, like I thought about the kid from Niles, the running back, Antoine Gardner.
Right.
He won the Mahoney Matters Player of the Year a year ago. It was funny because I remember talking to him. He ended up going to Youngstown State. Now, good for Youngstown State, but he had one of the biggest running back seasons in Ohio history. And you're like, okay, couldn't you have gotten a higher offer? He didn't. And he was too nice to say this, but, the NIL now is, the great young players are being recruited, but for a lot of other players, Ryan Day said that during a recent press conference. They're like, well, what's your relationship with NIL recruits compared to freshmen. He's like, well, yeah, if you get a good freshman and train him, he's a Buckeye for 4 years. But if you can get a 21-year-old guy that's had 3 years of experience, there's, a definite advantage to that as well, too. So,
and that's where I think the Belichick Lombardi tandem will excel in pretty much the same way that Dion did in Colorado to lift that program up immediately.
And I'm throwing this out there. And again, forgive me if I offended somebody by saying this. I kind of look at the Belichick thing. There were reports saying that he wanted his son to become the coach in waiting. Now, I don't know if that got approved or if that was just one of those crazy rumors out there. You kind of wonder. And I know Belichick has ties in North Carolina. I know he's always been interested in college football in general. But you kind of
wonder. And his dad actually coached at North Carolina.
Right. But you kind of wonder, he's 72,
And he did ink a 5-year contract.
Right. But I kind of wonder, too, is it like, okay, people can make the argument. There's probably 8 NFL coaching jobs out there. Maybe not everyone would go for Bill Belichick, but you would think he would be a popular candidate for some.
No. Yeah.
But if he can help his son, it's the argument politically of Joe Biden. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, a lot of us scratch our heads going, man, he said he wouldn't pardon his son, but now he did. And again, I'm not saying he was right or wrong or whatever, but, guy, at a certain point, I mean, you and I have sons. I mean, there's a limit of what we can do to help our sons, but they're family. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm kind of wondering if maybe a lure for Bill Belichick, he loves his son. If he says, hey, I got my son set up too. You know what I mean?
It wouldn't be the first time. I know Lou Holtz did the same thing at South Carolina. His son succeeded him.
And you can criticize it. Maybe it's not the best decision. But if you can help your family, I mean, isn't that what it's about?
I can't blame Bill for doing that, and it probably is the reason, because I don't see Bill fulfilling 5 years as a college coach.
Well, and I saw a weird report saying that maybe he has an out, like with a buyout, if some team really wanted him. I don't know, and maybe that's the other thing too. If he has the buyout available. Maybe it's like, all right, well, if I get the buyout, then, hey, my son could take over earlier. I don't know.
It's just quite a shame that, a coach of his stature, just a few wins away from the all-time record winning as coach, that he has to audition in the college level for an NFL job.
But, he's probably sitting there going, look, man, I mean, I went through the process. Again, that was 1 year. But, the Falcons have won it, man. And,
and it'll be interesting to see him on the sidelines and how North Carolina does. I'm expecting them to be in contention for an ACC title myself.
I mean, the ACC is doable, and again, you never know if the NIL, and I don't know where people are at in terms of how much they're willing to spend or whatever else the case may be. But man, if you've got a couple of big pocketed guys willing to spend money, you never know. I mean, I wouldn't expect North Carolina to win a national title next year, but you never know. I'll just put it like that.
Hey, look at SMU in its first year and how far it went in the ACC. So it can very well be the Tar Heels next year. Speaking of coaching openings, there's that one big Ohio State alumni that's sitting out there without a job, who's been helping out the Browns this year, Mike Vrabel. I'm wondering where he's going.
He's going to be taken, and it was interesting. Haslam came out recently, and sometimes if you give your coach the vote of
confidence, that's usually the kiss of death.
Well, he gave both Stefanski
and Stefanski, right?
So maybe they're both in trouble. Who knows? I wonder. I don't know. I'd say it's about the Steelers. Steelers having a great year, but still people get grumpy about Tomlin. And I always say, I'm not sure if Mike Tomlin's the greatest
coach do, and I don't understand it. He's, another coach that just wins, and yet they're still lowballing the outlook for this year, even with a 2-game lead with 4 to go. They're saying, oh, they got, which they do, 3 tough games in 11 days coming up.
Yeah.
But I expect them to win at least 2 of those.
Well, and that's going to be the trick. I mean, look, I'm not sold on the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are a good team, but unless they get hot, the Chiefs could get upset because the Chiefs are really playing.
And they're coming into Cleveland this week, and I'm expecting a good game for the Browns.
Eagles have won 9 in a row, but the Eagles have been infighting. You never know.
Right.
And the Ravens, in paper, the Ravens should be great, but the Steelers are playing really well against the Ravens.
Right. They always seem to have their number.
The problem is you got 3 of these games in 11 days, which is ridiculous.
That is the key right there.
Yeah, stop playing. I know we want.
And I believe 2 of them are on the road.
Yeah, Philly and Baltimore.
Right.
Now, again, I don't think these games are insurmountable, but hey, if the Steelers have a bad patch and lose 3, they're not guaranteed to win the division. I mean, they're in good shape with the division.
That'll put Baltimore right back into the thick of things.
But again, you're playing 3 games, 11 days, which just doesn't.
Right.
And if you go play 3 games, 11 days, play the Browns. Don't play
the NFL wanting all these special dates, and Steelers, a popular team with a big following, they want them right there for the ratings, and there's the money aspect again.
And believe me, I'm a Steelers fan. I'm going to be checking in. I'm not going to boycott the game. But I got family obligations. And,
Christmas.
I got family that likes football, but I'm not sure if we're having a family get-togethers that day. And sitting there watching
smack dab in the middle of Christmas dinner, 3 o'clock. You don't even get a night game.
I'm sure I can excuse my family would understand, but it's not going to go over well if I'm like, hey, family, I'm checking out for 3 hours. It's a big Steelers-Chiefs game, and they're nice.
I know the weekend before we were going to have a little gathering on that Saturday, and we got that 5-game thing to maneuver, including the Browns and a Steeler-Raven game also that day.
I mean, we talked about this before because we were talking about the importance of Thanksgiving and football, and you've said it. It sounds like your family likes to gather to watch football. And yeah, I've been to some family reunions where we all gather to watch football, and that's fine. But again, it's one thing if I watch some random Lions-Bears game or whatever. But man, Steelers-Chiefs, I mean, I'm a Steelers fan. And if you're a fan of football, that's probably the game of the year in the AFC right now. And it's like, come on. I don't know.
And Ohio, I mean, even Ohio State, 4 days before Christmas, Ohio State and Tennessee. Who's going to want to be shopping when that game's going on?
Or, I live here in Columbus. I found, and I like Ohio State. I don't feel like I have to watch every game. Man, in Columbus, roads are clear, traffic's free. I got my haircut during the Ohio State game. Didn't have to wait at all. So I was following the game on my phone. But man, if you don't have to be in front of the TV, going out in Columbus during the Ohio State games is really sweet. So
you won't have to wait in line for a table.
Oh no, yeah. I mean, that's what you're saying. Now, again, for most people, and yeah, I'll be checked in more since it's the playoffs. But man, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I know some people out there are like, this guy doesn't want to watch Ohio State, click. But again, if it saves you time, I mean, geez, go for it.
Yeah, it seems like that football, it was always part of these holidays, but now it's becoming a dominant part of the holiday where it's, right in there with Santa Claus and opening presents.
Yeah, I know we sound like old man get off my lawn, and I mean, that's okay. I mean, again, I don't mind football on the holidays.
Right.
I'm just saying, take away the games that really matter. Like we joked about before. Okay, if you want to have NFL in the holidays, pick the crappiest games. Like, pick the games between 3-win teams or whatever.
Of course, I remember when I was 12 years old and I was at my aunt's house just after Christmas dinner, and we sat down and watched a playoff game between Miami and Kansas City that went like into the night. It went 6 quarters. It was a first overtime game in a playoff
Well, yeah,
involving.
you get good games.
Yeah.
I kind of want, or you know what? Okay, I'm going to offend our military. I'll be careful how I say this. Get a game like Army and Navy. And I
Okay.
know if you're
That's this weekend. Yep.
right, if you're an Army person or a Navy person, you're really invested in going go Army or go Navy.
Right. I know I had an uncle that went to a few of those games.
Right, but if you're not like a Army vet or a Navy vet, it's a great game to watch, even though typically the teams aren't. Now, this year they're both good. I get that.
Right. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it's one of those games that is not life or death, but it's interesting enough where you want to watch.
Right. Those are kind of games you like to watch during a holiday because it'll be on. There'll be, there's some conversation about it, but it won't be all consuming. You can step away from it and do other things, but it'll be on there just as a conversation piece. Yeah.
So maybe you don't pick the crappiest game, but you just kind of pick the game that we talk about that doesn't mean everything.
Right. I just think the NFL and its search for ever last dollar that they're being kind of cruel to their fans because, putting the Steelers on Christmas Day right at prime time. That's really cruel.
I agree with you, but the rate's going to be through the roof, and
right, it will.
I'm going to be sneaking peeks on my phone. So, I mean, it's not nice. Yes, it's a money grab, but you know how we are. We're like, oh, we have to watch everything. So, great. Anything else going on in Youngstown or?
Things are really, quiet on the political side here. I think everybody is still taking their breath from the election. There'll be some judges. I know some of the newer judges in Trumbull County went to their training. The new juvenile judge, David Engler, was there, and I believe Sarah Kavora, the new common pleas judge, is that, and they'll be taking their oath of office right around Christmas time to start their new job. So that's what people in my office are be looking at. As far as the Republican dominance in both the Mahoning and Trumbull County, it'll be interesting to see who's lining up on the Democrats. I've seen some people who lost as Democrats now contemplating maybe perhaps switching to the Republicans. So that'll be something to watch for in the new year.
I think we're about a year away maybe from this, but I'm intrigued. Old Tito Brown, the Youngstown, is getting a couple of challenges.
That'll be a great race. I mean, Tito has been mayor for a few terms now, but he always gets some challenges from both sides. He seems to be kind of in the middle. So,
is that in November of next year when the election?
Yeah, there'll be a primary in May. So okay. I'm sure Tito, being a Democrat, he'll have some challenges from his own party. Perhaps a few councilmen. Councilman Oliver always seems to be dancing around whether to run or not.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, sounds good. Trying to figure out if there's something else. I don't know, man. This holiday season, the older you get.
Do you still go to the brick and mortars for your Christmas shopping, or do you kind of still do online? I know I'm off next Friday, so I'll be going out and about with the bell ringers for the Salvation Army, and I just like to be in the stores.
To be totally frank, here's the problem I get into. The nature of our business, if I do public relations or journalism or whatever I end up doing, it doesn't stop. And even in public relations, they're nicer in terms of, you're not working Christmas.
Yeah, they give you some chunk of time at least, whereas, it seems like the
you're so busy.
Always going.
Ends. Yeah, but even PR never ends because obviously the media never ends and everything else. But I personally have felt bad, and there's been some things that have kind of hit me like a ton of bricks when it comes to family recently. I've gotten where I get so wrapped up in my garbage that you forget to buy gifts. And sometimes my wife just goes ahead and goes and does it. So I've been trying to encourage my wife, hey, how can I help? But the best way I can help is saying, okay, online, what do we do? Because for me, like getting to a store tonight, although there's a lot of merit to it, I definitely get what you're saying. It's just hard logistically for me right now. That's
right. I understand that, and my wife does 80 to 90% of the buying, and she does 90% of that online, and it's been a lifesaver for us. The fact is now we have to collect all the stuff we received and sort it out and wrap it. So we need to dedicate a night for that also.
I need help wrapping.
Right.
My big gift, I'm not going to say this online, but the big gift I got my wife is being delivered Monday. But I need to figure out how to wrap it. It's a big box, and I don't know how to wrap. So sometimes I flake out and just give it in a gift bag, but it's not
I do that sometimes, but then sometimes that's why it's advantageous to go out to the mall, and they have like volunteer wrappers for a few dollars donation. They'll wrap it for you.
So I probably can't bring gifts from Pullman to do that. So I may have to find a real big gift bag because I cannot wrap, and wrapping a big box is just going to be just ridiculous. So I don't know, man. It's tough. So yes. So yeah, a lot of good stuff going. I was trying to think if there's anything else fun I saw or did at DC. DC traffic is crazy.
Yes, it is.
Other big cities is crazy.
I know when I go through there on like trips down south, I try to schedule that to like 1 to 3 in the morning to go through DC. And I guess Washington and Boston are two of the biggest cities on the East Coast. I'd like to stay away from traffic wise. Even New York City is a lot better to get around with.
I will say if you can afford it, not everybody can afford it, but we had a nice deal for work where we got to take Ubers everywhere, so we didn't have to drive.
That's nice. Yes.
But even there, it was just like the hotel I stayed at. They were like, "Okay, if you're going here, you better leave really early."
Right.
And the frustrating part is you just didn't get to do a bunch of exercise, but just because traffic, everything takes.
Washington does have a metro kind of subway system, also, don't they? Did you take advantage of that?
No, unfortunately, we were there one day and we left the next. So I'm sure if we planned it out, maybe we could take advantage of the subsystem. But we actually just got to the point where it was like, okay, we gotta go, we gotta come, we gotta go, and that was about it. So, all right, well, yeah, but there's a couple of things involving that I could talk to you about in a minute. So let's close up shop for at least the public part of our show.
I guess next week we'll do a kind of a Christmas show. Maybe what we're thankful to, a little wrap up of the year.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, for guys, this is Chris. Thanks for checking us out. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good one.